I did want to ask something about, before we get into more of a marketing discussion, is you had said that you had a post several weeks ago, and it was talking about women in construction. And I just wanted to touch on that because I know that it's a predominantly male-run industry, and it has been for a long time. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just history, and things change, and change is good. Change is hard. And Winston Churchill used to say, to change is good, but to perfect is to change often. And so, the more we change consistently, the better I think we're going to see things turn out. So I was curious as to what that post is, and Gina, being a woman in construction yourself, what did that say, and how did that speak to you?
To me, it's kind of interesting. I'll look back over my career. When I was coming out of Purdue, I think maybe there was one female in one class that I took the whole time I was in school. When I got out and started my career, you did not see that many women in project management. It was very rare. Certainly didn't see any in the field. So, I'm kind of trotting along early in the years of my career, and before you know it, I become the father of 2 young girls, which was absolutely wouldn't have had it any other way.
Yeah.
And I think in our house we had a mindset from the very beginning that we were always going to tell our girls, you can be anything you want to be. Because when you look back at when my wife was younger, even though women would have professional careers, they were often influenced by their parents to pick up a trade. So that in case things didn't work out, that maybe you had some secretarial skills or you had something to fall back on, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Girls back then, I can remember growing up, were told, girls aren't really good at math and science. Well, in our house, we set out to be completely different. Always told the girls, no, you have to be good at math and science. And so watching them grow up in that kind of an environment and tackling their science projects, and for me, my oldest daughter went to work with me one day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I had a chance to hook her up with a female project manager. And at the end of the day, she came home and said, well, I know what I'm going to do.
Wow.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a civil engineer. I'm going to go to Clemson. And if I don't get in, then I don't know what I'm going to do. Probably won't go to college. So, well, you go tell your mother that. She did, because she had a mentor who showed her something completely different. And she embraced an organization called Women in Science and Engineering. And as her dad, I wanted to be more and more part of that as she moved through her career.
Right.
Which opened my eyes to bringing on more female project managers and project engineers. And then as that started to happen, you started to see more women in the field. And things are starting to finally open up.
Sure.
And they're becoming business owners and top executives in companies. And, I think that's great. And when I made the post, I kind of looked around the company and said, wow, we have a lot of employees that all have daughters.
Yeah.
I mean, Alex is maybe the only boy. Greg has a son, but so we have 2 boys and everybody else has all girls. So we have a vested interest in creating an environment where they feel like they can be part of and that they can grow into, and it's there if they want to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to be part of that. But that's me being a dad of 2 girls and kind of passionate about that.
Well, and growing up, I had the same experience. I can remember my dad saying to me, you can be anything you want to be. You could be the first female president of the United States if that's what you want to be. There's no cap on what you can do. So fast forward to high school, one of my best friends, she just thought she would love to be an architect. And I can remember her saying, and it makes me so sad, she would say, but it's, there really aren't many women architects, and, it's just not practical. So she pursued business instead. Which I also pursued, and it landed me in construction. But, I look out now, and there's so many women. And when I say women in construction, it's architects, it's engineers, it's commercial real estate, it's developers. There's just project managers for construction companies, assistant project managers. I mean, there really is no limit to what women can do, and I do have 2 daughters, and so when I think about, my best friend saying, there are too many men, I'll never make it. And then I look at my daughters, who one said to me, maybe I want to pursue interior design. And, 20 years ago, I thought that meant just making things look pretty, but I understand now what interior designers do from a construction standpoint, and I'm like, let me find you someone to shadow one day. It's an exciting time for women. We're moving up, but I see some posts. I saw one on LinkedIn the other day, and it said, don't say I'm the best woman vice president, say I'm the best vice president, but we do have to acknowledge that women are making strides in industries that have typically been dominated by males. And, I think when we all come together, male and female, we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and it makes a dream team.
Sure.
So I think it's the balance. John and I were talking about balance in work and family earlier, and balance is good in any sector. And so it's just great to see, that my daughters, your daughter could say, I want to be an engineer, and they don't feel like there are any limitations, because we're at a place in time where it's widely accepted to have women in these positions that were previously predominantly male.
My parents gave similar advice. Theirs was a hint different, though. They were, do whatever you want to do, just don't be architects. They're both architects, and
That's right. I forgot.
The idea behind that is, if you get told not to be an architect and you want to be an architect, someone telling you not to be an architect is not going to stop you. Because he told, we had some family friends, and he would tell all of us kids that, because it's a difficult business, right? And so if someone telling you not to do it is enough to turn you away, then you shouldn't have been in it in the first place.
Yeah.
And one of my buddies, who got told that every time he came over to my house, because he always wanted to play with Legos and he loved it, he was working for my dad just recently. He just got a scholarship to go to Notre Dame to pursue further education within that. So obviously he has to go do that.
Yeah.
But it didn't stop him. And so he was able to get into that. And, my little sister is someone that I look up to in just the way that she approaches life. And she has that relationship mentality that we were talking about earlier, and just building up relationships. And so she works in social work, and she works with foster care kids to help provide them better environments and scenarios, and really walk them through life that is, they've been dealt a hard card to deal with. And so, don't let anybody telling you not to do something, let that be the thing that stops you from doing it.
I agree.
Yeah, well, I wanted to be an architect.
Yeah.
And my father-in-law, who was an engineer, said, no, you don't want to do that. And he did. In fact, when I was in high school, I said, well, you know what? I'm gonna join the Marine Corps. When I get out, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna become an architect. He was like, no, you're not. Yeah. And he said, you're gonna go in the Army, and then when you get out, you can go to Purdue and you can become an engineer. And I think that'll work better for you. And not knowing much, I was like, well, sir, yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. But that was his path, so that's right. It worked out well. Yeah, and it's hard as kids because parents don't mean to, but they can sometimes project on their kids. Oh yeah. A lot of times project on their kids.
But luckily, my parents have always just been supportive in where we want to go and what we want to do, and helping to provide, maybe a little bit easier roadmap in how to get there, just based on their experiences or their prior relationships and things like that. But my mom, being an architect, has always kind of inspired me, because Dad had his own architecture business. Mom had her own architecture business. Unfortunately, 2008 happened, and we all know what went down there. And so now they actually work together. And Mom is, there's a phrase, I forget where it comes from, but she's old school like the old school. She still draws everything by hand, and it is so impressive when, I'll go down. She's got her little drawing board in the garage, and so she's sitting there, and everything's done by hand, and it looks like it was done on a computer.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just so full of talent.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a lost art.
It is. It really is.
It's I remember, when I started, you would actually call the architect up if you had a question. And because they drew it by hand, they were intimately knowledgeable with every part and piece. So, they could answer your question on the phone. There was no writing things down and sending it to them in a letter or a fax or whatever, and waiting for an answer to come back. I mean, they knew it because they drew it, and I kind of miss that.
Yeah, I think my dad misses that too.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean you missed that detail? It was on the dang drawings.
Yeah.
Well, that's too funny. So I did want to switch gears and get a little bit into the marketing aspect side of it, and hopefully uncover a few secrets that you guys have about maybe where you guys are setting yourselves apart differently, and maybe a social media aspect, and signage. You talk about the logo previously when we were on the phone a couple of weeks ago, and what that means behind that. Can you guys dive into that for a second?
Well, the logo's the easy one. To me, the blue and the green represent the best company I ever worked for, and probably the worst company, because my idea was, when I started the company, was I need to take everything that I ever learned that was good and everything that I learned that was bad, and put them together and make it just different, make it better.